Hello, old sport, and welcome back to A Rose Within the Thorns, where we prune the confusion around English so your understanding grows as you read. This is Season 3, Episode 9, focusing on The Great Gatsby, and this will be our last episode for this season. The previous chapter ended Gatsby's life. This chapter explains his meaning. Chapter 9 is not about action. It's about consequence, memory, and judgment. The parties are over, the crowds are gone, and Fitzgerald shows what remains when the excitement disappears. And what remains is silence. So first, let's carefully walk through what happens. Nick writes this chapter 2 years after Gatsby's death, looking back on the events surrounding the funeral. After Gatsby is killed, reporters and gossip writers gather at the mansion. Rumors spread again, even more exaggerated than before. People who once eagerly attended Gatsby's parties now avoid involvement. Nick tries to organize a proper funeral for Gatsby. He contacts many former guests and acquaintances, but almost everyone refuses to come. Maya Wolfsheim will not attend. Klipspringer refuses and instead asks Nick to send him his tennis shoes. Only a few people arrive. Nick, Owl Eyes, some servants, and Gatsby's father, Henry Gatz, who travels from Minnesota. Gatsby's father is proud of his son and shows Nick a book containing a schedule young Gatsby wrote for self-improvement. It reveals that Gatsby had long believed he could build a better life for himself. Nick grows increasingly disillusioned with the East and its values. He breaks off his relationship with Jordan and decides to return to the Midwest. Before leaving, Nick meets Tom in New York. Tom admits he told George Wilson that Gatsby owned the car that killed Myrtle. He shows no remorse and even claims Gatsby deserved what happened. Nick realizes Tom and Gatsby move through life causing damage and then retreat into their wealth, protected from consequences. On his last night in West Egg, Nick visits Gatsby's empty house. He erases graffiti from the steps and sits on the bench behind the mansion. Looking out at the water, he imagines the first explorers arriving in America and connects their hopes to Gatsby's dream. The novel ends with Nick reflecting on humanity's constant effort to move forward while being pulled back by the past. So Gatsby's funeral reveals the truth about his life. While he lived, hundreds attended his parties. After his death, almost no one comes. The people were never really connected to Gatsby himself. They were connected to what he provided: entertainment, spectacle, and opportunity. Once those disappeared, so did they. The contrast between the crowded parties and the nearly empty funeral exposes the difference between appearance and general human connection. Gatsby surrounded himself with people, but he never truly belonged among them. Henry Gatz, however, changes how we see Gatsby. The childhood schedule he shows Nick lists habits, goals, and self-discipline. Gatsby's ambition began long before Daisy. He believed deeply in the idea that a person could improve themselves and shape their own future. Gatsby was not simply pretending to be someone else. He was trying to become the person he imagined he could be. And I think this connects directly to the idea of that American dream, the belief that anybody, regardless of origin, can achieve success through effort and determination. Gatsby embodies that belief more completely than any other character in the novel. Nick's final meeting with Tom clarifies the moral contrast of the story. Tom admits that he directed Wilson towards Gatsby. He feels justified and expresses little regret. Daisy, likewise, disappears without explanation. Nick recognizes something fundamental. Tom and Gatsby are not evil in a dramatic sense. They are careless. They act, cause harm, and then retreat into comfort and security. Their wealth protects them from consequences. Gatsby, who believed most strongly in love and hope, is the one who paid the ultimate price. So Nick decides to leave because now he understands the world that he has entered. He sees the East as glittering but morally empty. The Midwest, by contrast, represents stability, memory, and values. Fitzgerald uses geographic locations as symbolic moments. The East represents ambition and excess, while the West represents grounding and moral center. Nick realizes he does not belong in the East. His experiences there have changed him, but they also clarified what he values. At the end of the novel, Nick links Gatsby's dream to a much larger idea. He imagines the first explorers arriving in America, seeing untouched land, and believing in limitless possibility. To them, America was a future filled with promise. Gatsby looked at Daisy in the same way. Daisy became his version of that promise. He believed reaching her would complete his life, just as reaching America symbolized fulfillment to earlier dreamers. The tragedy is that the dream had already changed. Just as the American dream shifted from hope to material wealth, Gatsby's dream shifted from love to possession. He could create success and wealth, but he could not recreate time or control human emotion. So Nick ends the novel recognizing something essential about Gatsby. Gatsby's greatness was not his money, his parties, or his mansion. It was his capacity to believe in possibility. Even when reality contradicted him, he continued hoping, and that hope was admirable. But it was also dangerous. His refusal to accept the present prevented him from living in it. Before we finish, Fitzgerald leaves us with Nick's final understanding. After everything he has seen, the parties, the wealth, the love, the tragedy, he realizes Gatsby was not alone in his dreaming. Gatsby simply represents something universal about people. We all imagine a future where everything finally makes sense. We chase a version of life that feels just out of reach. And even when reality disappoints us, we continue moving forward, still guided by memory and hope. Fitzgerald ends the novel with one of the most famous lines in literature. So we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. The current is time, the past is memory, and Gatsby's story shows that while people always move towards the future, they are constantly shaped by what they cannot let go of. So this has been A Rose Within the Thorns, where we prune confusion so knowledge can grow. I want to thank you for reading The Great Gatsby with me, and I hope that you've enjoyed it just as much as I have. Thank you.